what we've roughly got here then is 9 people from the University of the Trees and 9 guests. I want you to get to know each other and work in twos. 1 guest plus 1 person from the University of the Trees. Most of the people here have been exposed to Supersensonics for 3 years, and this means you're going to get sort of private tuition as we go by, and it'll be easier for you. Instead of all asking me the one question, everyone here is quite capable of answering the same question. Okay? Now normally, this grew out of a 5-6 week course I used to give, where I would take the black Aura Pendulum, which is our least expensive unamplified pendulum, and I found it would take, I used to use this because it was the least expensive pendulum, and I had a hang-up about saying to people, hey, you got to buy a pendulum. But it would take people 3 weeks. They go home, they'd practice, I'd give them different exercises before they became efficient at using this, even to the first stage. Well, as you can see, we have a lot of pendulums here, which are all very varied. And when you come up to something like this, which is the Hills Positive Green, it's tuned, it's amplified, and it's tuned to your life force. So instead of taking 3 weeks to use an unamplified pendulum or a spool of thread, some of you have practiced with spools of thread, and you know sometimes you're right and sometimes you're way off, right? With something like this, your accuracy goes up almost immediately to 2 or 3 times what you get with a spool of thread. So we can show you how to use this in about 10 minutes. So by the end of the day, you'll start getting quite good accuracy. In fact, very good accuracy. So this is the one we're going to, Phil is in charge of tools, also the author of, in fact I should introduce some of the people here. He's also the author of Energy, Matter and Form. There's Roger back there. He's the other co-author of Energy, Matter and Form. Their book is the big, nice coloured one on the bookshelf laying down. So they'll be helping out. Phil's going to be handling the tools, if you want them, and he'll be giving one out to all of you to use. So then the other thing I used to do was to give a 1 hour spiel to everyone on what Supersensonics was about. And I found that wasn't too good either. So there's another way of doing that, which is much more fun and means we get to know each other. So why don't we start over here. Francis?
It's Jane.
Jane, okay. Jane, why don't you tell us why you came and what you came for?
Oh, why I came? Well, I came because I'm interested in this, and I feel that there's something perhaps more to our existence than some of us have this constant reacting to our environment and our situation, which is usually rather absurd. And I feel myself that I have a sensitivity to things, perhaps no more than most, but I'm aware of it. And so I would very much like to see if I can develop it. If I could make use of this for some good for myself or somebody else, I would be delighted. If not, I think at least it's an interesting pastime, which beats most pastimes.
Right. Let's go on to Mark. I think we'll ask the question a little bit differently. What do you want to get out of the course today?
I'd like to get a clear understanding of the forces at work in the use of a pendulum and how to differentiate between an accurate response and wishful thinking type response, or a response colored by the subconscious.
Okay, let's go into the forces at work in a pendulum. You can explain this in a couple of ways. Either you can imagine yourself as a radar set or a radio set where you send out a thought wave and say something like, say you meet a new lady and you say, does she like me? And then from our unconscious, the radar set bounce back, and you get, on your receiver, you get a yes or a no. And the other way the forces at work are every single thought that you're having or have ever had is present in the cosmos. They sort of go out, and that's it, they're there. So the cosmos is like a big cosmic computer, and everything is stored up there. So you can just draw on it at will. Every atom or molecule in everything's made of atoms and molecules, right? All the atoms and molecules are vibrating like this and woven around like this, and they're all singing their tunes and their dances. And because they're moving, they're giving off radiation. The radiation is present in the cosmos. This huge shooting match of radiation. So all you can say is, all you're doing is you're specifically tuning yourself to that particular part of this shooting match and dragging in the information you want to drag in. So you're just plugging into the big cosmic computer. So there's two ways that you can think of doing this work. Let's go around the circle a bit more. What do you want to get out of this today, love? You're Patricia? Is it Patricia or Pat?
Pat.
Okay, great.
I see it as a wanting to know more about a balancing in my own self to create more of a harmony so that can be brought outside. And I also see it in a wanting to learn, as I've been doing quite a bit of studying in the healing arts, because with balance I think it just escalates on into the healing.
All right, so let's talk about balance then. What the techniques you're going to use here, say some people come around and say, hey, you're not a spiritual group, you can use all this phenomena, you use pendulums and things. And I want to meditate and get high with God and all that sort of stuff. If you hold a pendulum in your hands and you send out a thought into the cosmos and you don't get an accurate answer back, i.e. you're unbalanced, say something interferes, that something is part of you most of the time, like wishful thinking can interfere with the results. Any doubts you have, any overconfidence, there must be others. Right? Pardon? Fame and gain. That's a bad one. People want to win at the horse races and make money. See, then the greed comes in. So all the things that stop you from being able to tune into the cosmos using the pendulum are exactly the same things that stop you from being able to tune into the cosmos when you're meditating. So the better you become at using a pendulum, the better meditator you become. Because the blocks are identical. And some people find it easier to sit down and meditate, it's just natural for them. For me, it's very unnatural. It's a very strange thing. It's like a foreign land for me to sit down and meditate. But I find it much more natural to pick up a pendulum. And so you can approach the cosmos from many different directions. And this happens to be the one which is best for me. Not that I don't sit down and meditate either, but this is the one I get more fulfillment from, and I get more in tune with the cosmos through. You're talking about health. I think someone else may mention that, so we'll go on to that. Is it Earl?
Yes.
Yes.
I have read parts of the Alive Universe and have experienced the pendulum, using it, but not accurately. Obviously, I'm not tuned to myself or to the use of it. I was specifically interested in learning more about that for my own self-improvement.
It took me, let's see, it took me a week to tune the pendulum when I first started. It took me 3 months to learn yeses and nos. So whatever you're going through, it can't be as bad as I went through. And then but now things can go much faster. And all of those problems that you've had, I've gone through the hard way. And because whenever I had a sort of relationship with Christopher, whereby if he'd tell me something, I'd say, great, and do it. And so he knew that, and then I didn't grow. And so therefore, he wouldn't tell me. So I had to go in a different route for my own self-growth. And so what I teach really today is the essence of 3 years. You'll be getting it distilled down to the essence. Okay? Arlene.
What do I want to get
What do you want to
out of
get
it?
out of today? Yeah.
Well, something that I can use practically. something that I can continue using, or get enough basis today somehow where I can continue learning a lot of this stuff. If I'm not, I feel like I want to get a whole bunch of stuff. To take, just, it feels like this is a good opportunity. Reading it is one thing, and this is a great way of taking some of this and being able to practice it and do a lot of it later.
Right. I won't have much time to talk about the books because we want to get into this thing. A lot of you I know own Alive to the Universe, which is the do-it-yourself handbook on this. And so many of the things we'll be doing here, if you want to revise it when you're at home, then this is the book to use. We'll be working through probably the first 5 chapters here. And then one of the things Arlene told me last night that turned her on were the application section, which is the second section. The book's in 3 sections. And the third section in the book is my 3 years training and my frustrations and my successes. Some of the other good things which you'll get out of it will be simple explanations of where the energy comes from, of the physics of this. Very simple that you can all understand. And you'll also get pictures of one of the important sections in the book is this one here showing you the states of mind which you'll get lousy results and the states of mind which you'll get good results. Okay? Now I've forgotten your name, love.
Sue.
Sue, okay?
Yeah. I just expect to learn something. I'm open to anything, I think. I just know that I'm here to learn something.
You don't know much about, you only came here, last week, so you don't know much about Supersensonics and what we do here.
Well, I've been reading through this one, and...
Alive to the Universe.
Yeah, I've been here about 3 times again.
Uh-huh. You just want to see what happens?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. And I've forgotten your name?
Faith.
Faith?
Like everybody else, I think the most important thing is the awakening within myself, and to know who I am, to understand myself more. Probably working on balance, like I think Pat mentioned, and also the truth. And I think that somehow I was led to this class to help the picture of that.
In the morning session, when we're more into the physics of what's going on, the practical, you'll see an attitude of, there's 2 attitudes that give you accurate results. One is the attitude of nonchalant, like you just put the pendulum over the hand, there's a spiral of energy coming from my hand. If I'm fit, it's coming in a positive spiral, clockwise spiral. If I'm not fit, on a physical level this is, it's coming in a negative spiral, anti-clockwise spiral. So if I put the pendulum over there, and I don't care whether, what's happening, I just want to see exactly what is happening. I'm just an instrument, a physics instrument detecting what's happening. And it gives me a positive spiral. So if I went in there and said, oh, am I okay, am I fit, am I well, and I was all concerned about the results, then I'm going to get all that concern in here, and the thought waves are going to interfere with the energy that's coming off because they're both of the same order of magnitude. So your thoughts you have to learn to control. Now in the afternoon, to get to the essence of your question, I'll be balancing one person's aura, and then you'll be practicing it afterwards. And when you balance someone's aura, I don't do that in a nonchalant frame of mind. There's another frame of mind. I do it in a resonance with the cosmos. It's like when I hold the pendulum over there, it's just, okay, cosmos, what is there? And so it's a completely different attitude. And either of these 2 attitudes are what you can use for successful aura balancing or successful pendulum work. They both get you detached from, the first one gets you detached from sort of earthly things, as you know, the spiritual trip. And when I use the word spiritual, I don't mean anything up there. Okay, your day-to-day life, everything, exactly what you're doing now at this moment, your attitude inside your mind, that's your spiritual trip. I don't mean this or this, okay? And when I use the word cosmos, that that means, depending on how you were brought up, it means God or whatever. I use the word cosmos. I'm much more comfortable with that. Those are two words. Okay. So those are your two attitudes. You'll see both of them prevalent and see which one you prefer. The second one gets you... I found sometimes when I do an aura balancing, I completely lose myself. And I find I'm in a completely different space than I can get in any other thing. I can't reach that space when I meditate, whereas other people can. But I get that when I balance someone's aura. I'm just not there anymore. And so that's my meditation. Sybil?
I took Robert's class last summer and learned a lot about it, but I had a lot of doubt in there too. I was kind of holding back a lot. And since then I've kind of relaxed my reactions a little bit to where I can hear more about what, feel more of a resonance with what might be happening between me and the pendulum, the cosmos and all, and not discount it because I can't explain it logically or rationally. So let's just get closer to a clear experience of it.
It's hard to comment on that one. The difference was she took the 6-week course in those days, wasn't it? Right. I wanted, and so did Stephanie. And so they'll find that there's a complete difference. And that's what I wanted them to experience, was how much easier it is doing it this way. Well, Fran, there's a story about Fran and I.
Right. Anyway, it's sort of ditto to everything that's been said. I could say over again because it's everything. Plus, it seems as if my karma this time around is to really be of service to other people. And perhaps the pendulum will aid me in this. I want specifically to use it also with my healing. I do the Reiki healing, but it would be like an adjunct. It would be something more that I could use in assisting not only myself but other people. And that would be the biggest thing, would be an assistance. I've used the recording wire with Bob Mahimi.
Yes.
And that works for me, okay? And I really get the pendulum. I like the feel of it. I like everything about it. And I'm one of those that needs a tool, like Bob does.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. He's happy with his recording wire in his hand.
Right.
And I'm happy with something in my hand, too. Which means, I guess, that I'm not really clear enough about myself that I can just be there and take what I get. I have to have something that verifies what I'm saying, or what I'm thinking, or what I'm doing. So I wanted to be a little bit more clear about the use of the pendulum so that I can have greater accuracy with it.
We have a class of people here today who are a little different than the normal class that I get. So I'd like to show you this pendulum, which I normally don't show people till they've been in this a while. This contains a whole array of chemicals and in a certain order with spaces and so on in here. And I won't go into the design of it. If any of you want to know a lot about it, you could contact Phil Allen. He's the expert on this one. It's tuned to the Pyruvate. Now, this is called the Pyruvate Pendulum, or the Supersensor, is that it? This pendulum is the Hills Positive Green. So I have two pendulums in my hand, okay? Now the Hills Positive Green is tuned to your life force. So if, let's demonstrate it. All hold your hands out like this. Don't expect anything, okay? Just relax. And did you hear me do this on the radio a few days ago? Anyone? It works even on the radio. To people what listen to the radio. Just see if you can feel something very, very subtle in your hands or your fingertips. Yes, what do you feel, love? Faith?
Little things dancing around in my fingertips.
Right, okay. People all feel different things and describe it differently. Little things dancing on your fingertips.
I feel the movement inside too.
You feel a movement inside your hands.
Like it's dancing inside.
Right. Patricia, what do you feel?
It's like electrical charge down my spine and how my hands.
Uh-huh.
I
Anybody
feel
else?
something in the left hand and not in the right.
That's okay. That shows which way you're balanced. Okay?
Yeah,
Left hand.
I feel it more in the left.
More in the left.
I feel it in the right.
In the right.
I feel just a circle of it always corresponds to the swing of the pendulum. You know,
Yeah.
I open my eyes and
What I'm doing for the people who listen to this tape is I'm holding the Pill's positive green pendulum over my hand and rotating it in a clockwise direction. At the same time, my mind is making believe I have a huge hand and it's covering the whole universe. And so everyone should be able to feel this effect. In fact, you may even be able to feel it on the tape. So when you're listening to the tape, why don't you just hold your hands out, since we can, I suppose we can impregnate this in the tape, and see if you can feel it now for yourself. Now, if anyone can't feel it, that's because you're trying too hard. Okay? So, another reason. So I'd like to know who cannot feel it. Who can't feel anything. Because that'll help me later.
I'm not sure I do anymore. I thought I did at first.
Okay, that's it. Sometimes you get the feeling and you think, well, that's not it, or you try a little harder to make it stronger, or any of those things, then you lose it. So all you do is you just sort of relax and think about the moon or the sun or the stars or anything nice, and you'll find the feeling will come back. It's like meditation. I've spent years and years. We have a intermeditation course here. It's a 3-year course. Everyone here takes it. In fact, people around the world take it. And my way of going about things is let's get this thing done. And so I make very little progress until I learn. In fact, I've just learned, I've been stuck on a section, and I've just learned that, hey, you can't force these things. That's the wrong way of doing it. It's like out of tune with the cosmos. You have to sort of go into it in a slide into it in a way, rather than a energetic, let's, get this. And as you know, if you do that, if you get in touch with that force in your hands now, I'll rotate the pendulum again, get in touch with the tingle or the pressure in the palm. Oh, one thing you're doing, you have your that's it, that's better. And the other thing, you're like this. That'll short you out too. If you just raise your hands off your knees, off your legs, and just relax like that, that'll give you even a stronger feeling. Because what's detecting this is what we're going to use in the whole course, is the nervous system of your body is 37 miles long end to end. Now, I'm a physicist, right? And physics doesn't have a detector that's 37 miles long end to end. So you have the biggest antenna ever made that we know of. Now, plus that antenna is embedded in a liquid crystal. You are liquid crystal, right? You know that. Okay? Liquid crystals happen to be the best receiver of radio waves or waves that we can think of. So you already are the best receiver of this radiation. Now send out a thought, a real oomphy, nasty thought, and see whether or think about food, or think about something, and see where the sensation in your hand goes. Okay, so all the pendulum is, here you are, imagine yourself the most fantastic receiver of cosmic radiations that's ever been invented. Because it was invented by the cosmos just for that purpose. Okay, now, so you have the best antenna that's ever been made, you have the best liquid crystal that's ever been made, and more of it, plus you have a computer which is the most powerful computer in the universe. Isn't that correct? Because all these computers, they can send people to the moon, they can do calculations in microseconds that would take a man his whole lifetime to do. Okay? And who made the computer? People with computers like yours. So if you can learn how to use your computer, your brain, with the rest of this instrument, you already are the most fantastic instrument. Christopher draws an analogy of, it's like you've been given the most powerful computer in the world but you don't have the handbook. So all you do is you press the buttons and you don't know how to work it. And so this is showing you how to work it. Now you always have to have a readout on the computer, because you want to know what's happening. And so the pendulum is the readout. Okay, now you know, you've read in the Bible that Moses used a divining rod to find water. It says in the Bible he went up to a rock, he held his rod out, went up to a rock, bashed it 3 times, and out came water. Okay? So once you realize there's no such thing as a miracle, and that's a hard thing because we all like miracles, especially me. I think they're great. But you've got to realize there's no such thing as miracles, and everything is just something you don't understand. So now you have to think, what does that mean? It means Moses got his divining rod. They didn't use, probably, I don't know if they used pendulums as well. So, here's a divining rod. He held it. He probably spun around. He pointed in the direction of water. This was because he set his computer, his mind, on water. Okay? If he wanted to find gold, he'd hold a sample of gold in his hand. That would tune his whole nervous system to gold. Or oil, you want to find oil, put oil in the hand. That will tune you to oil. If you don't have a witness, we call that a witness of the thing you're trying to find, or a sample, then think of oil or gold in your mind. Well, since you're 90% water, you don't have to think of anything, really. You just spin around, where's the water? Your rod will start to turn in the direction of the water. You walk in it, and then the rod will dip down. You walk in the direction of the water, when the rod dips down, that's where the water is. Okay? Then what he probably said was, he probably did tap the rock 3 times. He probably said, "Hey fellas, this is where you dig." And then they dug and found the water. There's the other one where he says he was up on top of a rock, and there was Aaron with the Israelites on one side, and there was the Egyptians coming the other way, and they were going to go into battle. And the Bible says, when his rod went up, the Egyptians won. When his rod went down, the Israelis won. Okay? You think, oh, how did he do that? It says he was talking to God. Okay, so now, what he did was he said he had a little program in his computer. This is something you'll learn today. You just put a program here. It says, okay, God, I'm going to work out a battle plan here, and if my team are going to win, I want a yes, which is a down, and if my team's going to lose, on the other team's going to win, I want an up. So he says, okay, Cosmos, shall we ambush them? And he gets a no, you're going to lose. Okay, shall we attack them from the right flank? He gets a yes. He says, okay, Aaron, off you go. And so let's take the miracles out of the Bible and see how to do them, how they're really done.
Robert,
Yes,
sorry
love.
to interrupt. But the thought occurs to me that in something like this, you'd have to be already programmed as to what win and lose means.
Yes, exactly. You can only, if you ask a question and I ask a question, like say we have someone in front of us and we're both working on the same person, and you say, Cosmos, is this person sick? And you get a no, okay? And so I say, Cosmos, is this person sick? And I get a yes. Then we have to find out what you mean about sick and what I mean about sick. Because you may just be thinking of, their whole being as being sick, and I may be thinking of, say, just physically being sick. And so this happens a lot. I see people dividing together and they get opposite answers, but the communication's lousy. Between the two people, their concepts are completely different. So right, you have to have a clear concept of what you mean in your mind. So the pendulum then is an extension so you can actually see what's going on. Now Jacob had his coat of many colors, Aaron used a divining rod too, and God knows who else. But look at it. It was the prophets, the people who are closest to the cosmos, who used these instruments. So now you've got to realize what Christopher Hills has done by inventing things like this and this, which people like us can use and get great results. We have the same instruments that the prophets had to tune into the cosmos. And that's quite incredible now. Because what it means is, instead of you going to the local priest or vicar and say, hey, please forgive me my sins, and what does he know about God more than you know about God? You go straight to the cosmos. You pick up your cosmic telephone and you dial G-O-D and you say, hey God, what I want to know is. And that's really where the truth is, isn't it? It's between you and the cosmos. You can't have anybody interceding for you. And the other way is your car. Say you're a lady, you take your car into the gas station and say, something wrong with my car. A guy looks and says, yes, $65. Or if you want this done, it's going to be $89, and you should have this done, lady, and it's going to be $125. So you take your pendulum out and you say, is that what's wrong? And you go through the things. He says, well, you need this fixing. All you have to do is to put a computer program in your mind. And as he starts to talk to you, you're holding your pendulum. He just thinks you're a lady playing with a piece of jewelry or something. And you have a little program in your mind that says, Cosmos, if this man is telling me the truth, give me a yes, which is a clockwise rotation. Cosmos, if this person is not telling me the truth, give me a no. So you said, and what exactly needs fixing? He says, well, lady, it needs a tune-up. And you get a yes. He says, it also needs a new generator. You get a no. It needs a new battery. You get a no. He said, it should cost $125. You get a no. You say, okay, Cosmos, how much should it cost? Should it cost more than $10? Yeah. More than 20? Yeah. More than 30? More than 40? You get a no. Okay. So you can get in there and you become your own authority. Our problem from children has been we've always had an authority over us. So this is just between you and the cosmos from now on. Or you just talk to the atoms and molecules of the car. Sue B, she's not here. Sue B and I were coming home from giving a seminar in Monterey when my car broke down. And it was Sunday, late at night, in a little one-horse town. When we finally got someone out to fix the car, we had to use some games, consciousness games for that even. When we finally got somebody out to fix the car, the guy just wanted to tow it home and he wouldn't fix it. He sort of lied to me on the phone. And so I said, wait, I've got some tools that'll fix the car. So I brought out my kit, put it on the top of the car, brought out a pendulum and a divining rod. And I went around, he'd opened the bonnet of the car. I went around the front, held the divining rod, and he freaked. He said he got really annoyed. So I went over the car with a divining rod, and it dipped by the air filter, like that. So I thought, okay, it's by the air filter. So I took the air filter off, and took out the pendulum, and held it over there. I have a question, what's wrong with the car? Which bit's wrong? So I'm talking to the atoms and molecules in the car, because they know when they're not working. They've got intelligence. And so I pointed to the carburetor, and that was working fine. I have a program in my mind whenever I do this work. Just if you give me a yes, I don't even have to ask anything, right? You get these programs in your mind. Just when I hold it over something, if I get a yes, it's fine. If I get a no, it's not fine. So I don't bother to ask a question. The program's already there. So the carburetor was fine. There was a little thing which I now know is a gas filter in front of the carburetor. I got a no on that. And then in front of that was the distributor. I checked that and I got a yes on that. That was fine. So I said, it's the gas filter that's wrong. And when I pulled out the pendulum and started to do the pendulum, he said, I've been a mechanic for 20 years and that's got nothing to do with mechanics. And I said to myself, God, I got to do it now, otherwise I'm going to be a right nana. And then the second thought that crossed my mind was something like, I've got to prove to him I can do this. Well, both of those thoughts, you won't be able to do it, because they will both cancel out what you're trying to do. So the next thought was, hey, calm down. Just be detached and just do the job. And so that's the important thing. Any of those thoughts, trying to prove it to someone comes up to you, you go away from here being able to use the pendulum, okay? Someone will come up to you and say, okay, prove it to me. I come to get people in the class. They say, prove it to me. How much money have I got in my pocket? If you guessed, they'd say, you say you got the right answer. They would say, okay, but that's not really a real proof. Why don't you do... So don't get tied with that. Those type of person, just ignore them. Send them away. They're not going to be any good to you. They're not going to be on our side of the fence at this moment. Don't try and prove it to anybody. The way you prove it is you say, you get a pendulum, you get the book, and you do it. If I do it, I become the Wizard of the West. You're always going to come to me. You do it for yourself. But don't get pulled into that position where people are having you do it for them, to prove it to them. Oh, and let me tell you one more thing about the pendulum. So you have people like Moses, who used the pendulum, or divine rod, and you have people like Christ who didn't. On the first page of the Life to the Universe is a story of this man who's walking by the water, and he sees some fishermen, and he says, "Hey, give me a ride on the boat, will you? You know, there's all these people around, I want to get away from them." So they take him out, and he said, "What have you been catching today?" And they said, "I haven't caught much." And he said, "Well, why don't you put your nets down there and try and catch some fish?" And Peter turned around to Jesus and said, "Look, mate, I've been fishing all day, I've caught nothing. I know these lakes, there's no fish there today." So Jesus looked at him and probably zapped him and said, "Why don't you put your net over there?" So Peter put his net over, caught tons of fish. So all Christ had done, he developed this technique to such an extent. You've all felt this in your fingertips now, right? To such an extent, they just use his fingertips. All you do is, you have certain fingers here. This is this is all in the Life to the Universe. You don't have to take notes. This finger, your first finger, is positive, that's your yes finger. Your second finger is yes, do it now. Your third finger is no. The sensations I get, you may describe them differently. It's a tingle here on the first finger, a throbbing tingle on the second finger, and a tight band around the third finger that almost hurts. Those are my sensations for these feelings. And so all you can do, all he probably did was to wave his hand over the water while just sitting there, just going like this while they're rowing out, sending out the question, "Where's the fish? Where's the fish?" Until he gets a yes. And when the boat's over the fish, he's sending out the question, "When do we drop the nets?" He gets a yes, "Do it now," on his middle finger, and he tells Peter to drop the nets. So that's, and don't forget, he said, what I do, you can do and more. He was looking forward to the times when people would all be everyone would carry one of these pendulums in their purse. And the whole race, kids would be brought up with them, and we'd be doing this and more. You can use it for simple things around the house, like repairing. My first thing was, we had a pressure cooker that Pam was having troubles with. And we couldn't find out what was wrong with it, and we divined what was wrong with it and fixed it. So you can use it for anything. You don't have, anything, from material things to spiritual things, the whole range. So what the pendulum does is, it's like this fantastic receiver, it's like a radio. Firstly, to get in the signal in the radio good, you have to tune to the right station. Now, if you hold the thought of oil in your mind, you're tuned to oil. If you're holding the thought of oil in your mind, you're thinking about your boss or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you're not going to get oil, are you? You're going to get something else. But if I'm tuned to life force, by holding the pendulum in my hand, I don't have to think about life force, do I? Because I've already tuned my station to life force. This pendulum's tuned to life force. Hills positive green. Then the fact that it moves is like turning the volume up on your radio. To get the station in, you want to turn the volume up so you can hear it. Okay? So your sensations hit your body, they come down the fingertips. Sometimes, or to begin with, not sometimes, it took about a year for my fingertips to become alive. You people, you're much more into this than I was when I started. Your fingertips are much more alive than mine. And so you'll find your fingertips will become alive. But to be sure of those signals, when you're training, when you're learning, you use the pendulum, which will amplify the signal and give you a yes answer or a no answer. So that's turning up the volume. And this one here I was telling you about, the Pyruvate Pendulum, this one is actually tuned to sorry, I want to backtrack. The Hills Positive Green that you felt in your hands, tuned to life force. So you felt the life force in your hands increase. That's like the atom, there's the nucleus, and there's the electrons spinning around the nucleus. It's like I've given the electrons a boost and they spin around faster. That's the energy that this Hills Positive Green governs. Okay? But the Pyruvate governs the energy that holds the nucleus together. That's a much stronger force. Okay? Okay, Tom?
No. I just want to get some means of direct knowing, which is what we've all been talking about here, perhaps. But then I'll decide what I want after that. When I know what I want.
Well, that's great. That's great. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Some people here, again, as I say, I'm going to forget about the books pretty soon. For people who come over with Tom's vibration, have you seen the book Nuclear Evolution?
I have read it, yes.
Ah, fine. That's good, because that gets you. Another method for direct knowing is this 3-year intermeditation course. It's really a 3-year course on direct knowing. Each section, you only get one section at a time. There's 18 sections. And each section is an exercise you actually work through. And some of them are easy to master and some are very, very difficult. But they're like the essence of all the so many thousands of years of the great yogic techniques for exactly what you were talking about. Someone, ask one of the people on campus and they'll tell you more about it during one of the breaks. Okay, let me skip a couple of people on campus, and I only met you last night, but I've forgotten your name.
Timothy.
Timothy, great. I don't have you in the book, do I?
No.
No.
I'm here for several reasons. And curiosity, I'm a scientist on my own. And what I'm doing, two things in my life which are significant to me are I'm learning to do shotgun massage. And I feel a leaning in that direction. It feels like a healing direction. And I'm exploring that within myself. And also, I coach, I'm part of the national coaching staff, and I coach cyclists. And I'm interested in experimenting with various aspects of coaching, applying whatever techniques I can use to see what results can be produced, and to contribute more to the athletes who are under my direction, so that they become more expanded as well as producing the result that they say they want to produce. And I look at it as being a very, it's a good proving ground, because it's in competition, it's real clear. Either you win or you lose. Either you produce a result or you don't. So I get to see what works and what doesn't work. And it's really exciting for me. So I'm interested to see what's available here, because I feel that it all fits in to my growth and to the people around me. And I'm interested in contributing and feeling like I'm an effective force in expanding and having others expand around me. So, and I'm curious.
This is a good application of aura balancing. See, Tom could take hold of the pictures of everyone in his team, and any time before the race, days before or hours before, he can find out where they're at on the 7 levels of consciousness. Someone could come in and say yes, like a boxer could come in and say, yes, I'm physically fit to fight today, but you could hold the pendulum over and find it's giving off negative red energy. Okay, negative red is physical level. He's not fit, he's hiding something from you. Or perhaps he doesn't know about something. We've had many cases in the past of boxers who go into the ring for what they called a last fight, and they were over the hill and physically unfit and not fit to fight. Or he could find out, let's say on the green level, which is the emotional level, insecurity level, that someone's completely freaked. They may have just broken up with their girlfriend, or they may have been having problems with their parents, or they may have lost $100, whatever freaks you on the insecurity level. And by knowing this, he could just sort of go to, so if you say to someone, hey, what's wrong with you? Most 9 times out of 10, they'll say, nothing. Or, oh, I just had a row with my girlfriend, it's okay. But if you say, hey, and ask a specific question, which you can find before you approach the person, then they will tell you everything. And just by releasing it, the person feels better, as you know, without balancing their energy even. Then you can just balance it afterwards. So this would help for unexpected things to happen in races. Or you could find out if someone's been taking some stimulants. Very simple with the pendulum. The applications to sports, a lot of them again are covered in the book.
Could give him a shot at the Pyruvate Pendulum.
Yeah, right. That's a good point Pam just pointed out there. Say you do want to charge somebody up or yourself up. The way you do this is you don't say, okay, I'm going to charge myself up and start rotating the pendulum in a positive direction to charge yourself up. what you do is you say, "Hey Cosmos, what do I need?" And see what the Cosmos gives you. Okay? And when the Cosmos stops the pendulum, that's the end. You're balanced. You don't do it. You let the Cosmos do it. Okay? Let's see. We still have a little time, so I'd like to go a couple of the people on campus. Myra?
I've been wondering sometimes with the pendulum why I can't get answers. I've taken a class a couple of times, so I've been practicing a lot over the last several months. And for instance, the other day I was looking at a car that perhaps I'd buy, a used car, a fellow brought by, and I put it over the engine. You know, is the engine all right? Yeah. Maybe I should get more clear about what all right means. But and then I'll get, and I've done this with other cars too. Should I buy it, Cosmos? Should I buy it? Is this car for me? And the Cosmos will say yes. Did that a couple of times. One time I was going to plop out a whole bunch of money, and then the other day I had people along with me to say, "Hey, don't buy that car," you know? It's just a whole bunch of trouble because there are too many things that need to be done to it. You know, so I'm conflicted, really, you know. And I remember about 3 months ago, I was looking for a place to land, so to speak. You know, I was out, just freed myself from all the encumbrances and just went out to see where I was supposed to be, where I was supposed to park my motorhome and stay for a while to get some solitude. So I went through the Santa Cruz area more or less on an area-by-area basis in my mind. And then finally I got out a map of the whole United States and the world, you know, where am I supposed to be, you know? And I couldn't get an answer. Sometimes I run into things like that, and that puzzles me.
Okay. Myra's a sharp lady, so I'm going to have her answer her own questions. Did you want to buy the car?
I want a car.
Right, okay. So she's attached to buying the car. Right? You want to buy a car.
Yeah.
So that's pretty powerful energy to have to get out the way if you want to buy a car. And you're saying, "Hey, is this car okay?" And you're unconsciously you're saying, "I want to buy a car, I want to buy a car. Make this car okay, Cosmos." You know? "Please, Cosmos, just give me a yes on it." So who's giving you the yes? And again, when you say you freed yourself up from all your encumbrance and everything, you badly wanted somewhere to stay, but I remember you at that time, what sort of frame of mind were you in?
I was kind of not too centered. I wanted to find a place, but I wanted to find a place, I told myself, where Cosmos wanted me to be at that particular time. Frame of mind, unsettled,
right.
And, you know, kind of chaotic. I didn't know. I was going through a junction in my life.
So you can see why she couldn't get the right answer.
Oh, yeah.
I was kind of chaotic. I was uncentered, kind of chaotic. But for Myra, that means I was freaking. She was pretty chaotic in those days about that, obviously, because she's trying to change her whole way of life.
Yeah.
So obviously you ask, it's like when you got a job. Okay, say I'm employed somewhere and I get $20,000 a year and I got a great job. Someone comes along and offers me a job because they get this vibe. I'm confident and I've got a job and I'm someone who can do a job. And so I always found when I had a job, I'd always get offered jobs. Get yourself fired or say, "I'm going to quit my job, take a month's vacation, then find another job." And then try and find another job and see what happens. Is anybody going to offer someone who hasn't got a job? "What's wrong with you? Don't have a job?" You know? So it's the same sort of thing. When you meet a new acquaintance, who you may get involved with, or a new team member, someone comes along and you think, hey, do I really want this guy on my team? Before you get to know the person, before you get to know the new acquaintance or new business partner or anything like that, because once you get to know them, you are involved, you form your own opinions, right? You straight away take out a pendulum and say, hey, Cosmos, is this person good for me? If you get a no, you're not involved yet, you just met them. You can be quite detached and get a good answer. Should this guy enjoy much? Should this guy ride today? But say, like we spend the night together, and the next day we both start thinking, well, do I really want to get involved with this person? You've got a lot of things you've already started in motion. And all your unconscious is going to start, you've got a lot of things going in there. So you do it at the beginning. You do it before the turmoil starts.
So I have to get at the beginning of everything.
Well, or you just say, you get yourself into a space where you calm down and you center yourself and you get pretty, you just don't care. Like, health foods. And there's some people on campus who freak out if you don't drink spring water in your tea. Okay? So, those type of people, they're always they're going to be attached to foods. Well, I like to eat good foods and healthful foods. But I just hold the pendulum when I go to the shop, hold it over the stuff, and if the stuff goes clockwise, I know life force is coming up, so I know I can eat it. But I don't go over there and say, well, I must take spring water, must have. No, I'm not that. There's a difference.
Yeah.
I care, but I'm not fanatically attached. And so
it seems like a lot of the things that you're using as suggestion or as examples, or a lot of things in the books were all things that I found it hard to be detached from. The foods maybe would be one thing, but the kind of things of, I don't know. I'll just see.
Most of the things that you divine about, you are pretty emotionally involved about, but you do catch it at the beginning. Like when someone shoves something under my nose and say, divine this, I go and divine it. I don't sit down, I don't take it home with me, I don't think about it, because I know that half an hour later, I'm going to have a problem. But if someone says, like I went into the office a couple of days ago, and a lady was there, and her son had been kidnapped by the ex-husband, and so on and so forth. And they had a map and a picture of the son, and they asked me to divine. So you just take it, you point the whole thing north, and just go down one side till you get a yes. You say, okay, so he's along here, you go along the other side till you get a yes, and say, okay, that's where he is. You do it in 5 minutes. You don't go like this, 1 inch at a time. Is he there? He's really moving the pendulum. You don't divine like that. You divine fast with confidence. Because you can always get detached as to whether you're going to be right or wrong, or attached to whether you're right or wrong. So that's the frame of mind you're looking for.
Then it would seem to me that you could almost, except in certain cases of shopping for food or something, hardly divine by yourself.
No, that's what I say. If you just do it...
But it would be almost impossible on anything that would really be important for me not to become attached. So that it would, from this basis I'm saying,
right,
it would almost be impossible for me, for anything important, to divine for myself.
I think you learn to, you can snap into being centered really quickly. I think that's one of the valuable things about divining as a way of centering yourself and getting control of yourself, is to say, okay, I'm just going to calm down, take 10 breaths, I'm going to expand my universe a little bit and not get so freaked out about this one little thing that's happening. And once you expand, and relax, then you divine, and then you can go on freaking, but just for that instant, snap into, get it together kind of thing.
That might do it.
There is another way of looking at that as well. You see, the cosmic trip down here for you is to get unattached. Yeah? And so therefore, this is something you want to work on. If that's your statement is, hey, but I'm not unattached, then great. You use this method to get yourself unattached, to look at the attachments in all your areas. We have 10 minutes. I'd like to just fill that in with a couple more. Yes, Sue?
Well, I guess over the years from being here, I've attended Christopher's Supersensonics seminar. I haven't attended one of yours before, but I never truly grasped it. And I've been into more of the different, aspects of our teachings here. And so that's what I would like to do today, and the way you're presenting it today is really, understanding more of the physics of it, because I get bogged down in expressing myself about divining to other people. So I need that, that understanding to be able to re-express it in my own words.
Richard?
I've come because I want to find out what I don't know, and also because I feel that there's a lot of future in what we're doing right now. In other words, this is a direction that I feel not just me as one person is going to do, but as maybe as a whole planet we're going to be doing in the future. It's like, and I would really like to get more in tune with that.
Bill?
I want to learn to become more receptive and more selectively receptive. I spend most of my time making them, but not enough time practicing with them and what they're capable of. So I want to become more, well, what we've been talking about here lately in the past few minutes was about getting yourself out of the way and letting the signal come through. I find like a lot of times I have an attachment to a certain answer. I want to learn how to let go of that.
Huh?
I have difficulty kind of initiating things, or like reading it from a book and practicing it on my own. And once somebody shows me and guides me through the first steps, then I feel great about it, but I'm kind of dependent on being led through something first. So
I have that same problem. I find most people do. They play with the pendulum. They can just be shown, like, just for the day, how to get on the right foot in. Things become much clearer. At the end of the day, there'll be things a lot more clear than they are this morning. Stephanie?
I'd like to learn to get my mind out of the way, because I don't trust my divining. I do it and I think, oh, that might not be right. So I usually feel the points because I trust that, because I feel like I can't control that as much, and that's proved to be accurate sometimes with drawing the coins. I have some things physically wrong with myself that give me a lot of pain, and I'd like to learn to heal those, and maybe it can help me stop the mind tapes I know that are causing it, because I don't know what's really causing. Well, I kind of do, but I like to get more control over the mind tapes. They're causing the physical things.
Jane, that brings an answer to one of your questions, or another way. When I'm really freaked and backed in a corner and cannot divine, I throw the I Ching, or the I Ching, you say in America. And if any of you don't know about the I Ching, do ask one of my peers, because it's, somehow the cosmos is channeled through some high beings and given us the most fantastic book that there is. And the I Ching is just, it's like God's word written down, so you can actually read what God tells you to do next. And it's just remarkable. It's the most remarkable book I think that's ever been written for helping people in that way. I use it. I don't use it every day or every month. I use it when I'm backed into a corner. I think overuse of something like that is not correct. But people like Leibniz, the great mathematician, used it. Carl Jung wrote the introduction to it when he thought to himself, hey, if I write an introduction to this, my career could end tomorrow. So what did he do? He threw the I Ching and asked God, should I write an introduction to the I Ching? So, it's something that you should know about, and there's only one copy to buy. There's many, many copies, but only one is the big copy. I recommend it's the Wilhelm Baines copy.
Which?
Wilhelm Baines. I will certainly share the information with you.